So I want to show a slide real quick before I read the scripture, because I'm going to talk about Tori Bowie. She's the woman on the far right wearing the Bowie. This is the women's 4x100 relay. They had just won gold in Rio in the Olympics in 2016. And I'm going to mention some of the other women too. The one who's Bortoletta is actually, her last name's Madison. But so I just wanted to put her picture up there, Tori Bowie, because I'm going to speak about her and she may not be familiar to many of you. If you're a runner, you kind of follow women running and kind of track this. And then I'm wearing a t-shirt, for those of you who can't see, it's got Wilma Rudolph on it, who is one of my heroes, who was the winner of 3 gold medals in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, and actually won in the 4x100 relay in 1956, 60 years before these women. They got a bronze. So anyhow, thank you for showing that slide. And then today, the text for this day is Sarah and Hagar. And I almost always preach this. It comes up every 3 years in the cycle because I think it is a very foundational story. It's a simple story in some ways. It's a story that's sadly not untypical. It's a story about 2 women being pitted against one another. And Phyllis Tribble, kind of a famous older Hebrew Bible scholar, has written a couple of books specifically on this text of terror, and books about Hagar and Sarah and their children, like Jewish, Christian, and Muslim perspectives, because this is kind of the story about where, you think of Christianity and Islam and Judaism kind of all emerging from. But the story, the way they put it in the lectionary, it sort of picks up near the end of the story. And I'll kind of review it a little bit in the sermon, but remember Sarah and Abraham had been promised lots of children. That doesn't happen. Now Sarah's old. She's had, and so she has given her slave Hagar to her husband Abraham to go in and to have a child, and that's Ishmael. God hears, who is considered the father of kind of the Muslim people. And then in this scene, near the end, in Genesis 21, Sarah has conceived. She's given birth to Isaac, which means God laughs or he laughs. And now there's a celebration, but then kind of the distrust and the, paranoia of Sarah gets in the way. And again, there's violence really between the 2 women. The child, that would be Isaac, grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on that day that Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, that would be Ishmael, who would be probably about 13 at this time, whom she had borne to Abraham, playing with her son Isaac. It's actually, the word playing is actually laughing. And with her son Isaac is actually added in English. It's not in the Hebrew. So she sees this Ishmael laughing. So she said to Abraham, cast out this slave woman with her son. And notice, like, the woman and her son, they're stripped of their names. They're not called Hagar and Ishmael. They're just distanced, right? Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not inherit along with my son Isaac. The matter was very distressing to Abraham on account of his son meaning Ishmael. But God said to Abraham, do not be distressed because of the boy and because of your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, do as she tells you. For it is through Isaac that offspring shall be named for you. As for the son of the slave woman, that would be Ishmael, I will make a nation of him also, because he is your offspring. So Abraham rose early in the morning. He's always getting up early in the morning to go sacrifice Isaac or to do whatever, but that's also kind of one of those, like, we do the will of God. We get up early in the morning to do it. So there's also this kind of challenge in there. He rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, along with the child. Again, the child's name has been omitted, right, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she cast the child under one of the bushes. But the word there is really not cast, it's put. The Hebrew is put, and that's what you do with the body when you're burying it. So she's kind of basically preparing a grave and putting her child there. Then she went and sat down opposite him a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. And there's kind of foreshadowing there because Ishmael's got to be a great hunter. For she said, do not let me look on the death of the child. And as she sat upon him, opposite him, she lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the boy. It's kind of interesting because even God doesn't hear her here. God hears the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said, what troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Come, lift up the boy and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make a great nation of him. Then God opened her eyes. There's a lot in the Hebrew here about eyes and seeing and vision, and the name for the stream is the same word for eye, so it's all about seeing. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went, filled the skin with water, and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother, first time that Hagar is called mother, and this is where she disappears too from the scripture after this, but his mother got a wife for him from the land of Egypt.